Welcome once again to ACCA F5 Performance Management. Once again, I'm your tutor, John Tende. This time we shall be discussing December 2011 F5 exam. So I would suggest you download a copy of the exam paper from the ACCA website, which is accaglobal.com, and take about 15 minutes to read through question 4. Read through question 4. You can pause the video right now and read through question 4. Okay? And question 4 is about life cycle costing. So read through question 4, life cycle costing, and then get back to the video tutorial. Okay, let's assume you've read through the question. We shall use the usual approach of straight away going to the requirement. The requirement in this case is to calculate the life cycle cost, a life cycle cost. Okay, so before we get bogged down by part B of the question, we're going to try and calculate what they call a life cycle cost. Okay, so what's a life cycle cost? So life cycle costing seeks to take care of all costs during a product's life cycle. So it seeks to take care of all costs during a product's life cycle. So what are the stages of a typical product? Okay. So a typical product would generally have a curve. Okay. Like this. So if you have sales on this axis, and then you have time on this axis. Okay, so here you have the initial introduction of the product, then here you have the growth phase, okay, of the product. Then at this point the product is maturity. Then finally here you have decline. Okay, so the life cycle cost per unit is equal to all the total costs, okay, divided by total number of units. So life cycle costs at introduction or even before introduction, you'll have things like research and development costs. During the growth stage, you'll have marketing costs. Okay, you'll have distribution costs. Okay, at maturity, you'll probably have admin costs. So basically all the costs involved in the product are called life cycle costs. So what we're going to try and do is to determine all the costs from the information available, and also determine all the units which have been given. Then when we divide the two, okay, we shall be able to get the life cycle cost. Okay. So quickly let's look at this template which I have right here. Okay, so the information we've been given is right here. So you have 3 years of production. Okay, in year 1 we've incurred research and development costs and marketing costs. Okay, then in year 2 we've incurred marketing costs. Okay, we have variable costs, variable manufacturing costs, we have fixed production costs, then we have distribution costs which are variable at $4 per unit. So to get the total variable cost will be $4 times 100. Then you have selling costs. So all we have to do is to add them up. What you need to do is to be a bit systematic in your working. So let's see what I've done here. So my layout, okay, you have your years 1, 2 and 3 up there. Then you have your units sold. I hope you can see where I'm getting these figures. The units sold are here. Okay, the units sold are right here. 100,000, 200,000. In year 1, I incur research and development costs, product design costs, and marketing costs. Okay, those figures I'm getting them from here. Hope you can see the figures I'm highlighting there. So it's simply I'm just putting the figures for year 1 right here. Then marketing costs for year 1 and year 2 and 3, they're right here. So I'm really doing nothing, I'm just adding up the figures. Then on this side I'm populating the totals as I do my workings. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm adding everything. Okay, as you can see from my relation arrows. Okay, so same thing for all these other figures. Okay, same thing. So I add up all the costs for marketing costs. So the total marketing costs are 3.950. The same thing for product design cost, which is simply 800,000. Okay, manufacturing costs, we've been given the variable costs per unit. That means to get the variable costs in year 2, okay, I simply multiply. Okay, I multiply the number of units times the variable cost per unit. Okay, so you get 4 million US dollars. Same thing for variable costs. Okay, variable costs is simply the unit cost. Okay, the unit cost multiplied by the number of units in year 3, which is 200,000. So that is pretty straightforward. Then I finally add up the variable costs. Okay, so when I add up the variable costs, I end up with 12.4 million. Fixed production costs, these two figures I'm getting them from here, they do not change. from the question, fixed production costs, and then I plug them here, and then I add them up to give me 1.94. Similarly, distribution costs have variable cost per unit given as 4 and 4.5. So to get the total variable cost here, okay, all I need to do is multiply the two figures, this by that. Okay, hope that is clear. So that one is quite straightforward. Okay, so this is simply the sum, okay, rather the product. Same thing here. Okay, I'm still multiplying the units sold, 200,000, multiplied by the variable cost per unit of 4.5, and then I add up the variable costs. Okay, so when I add the figures, all the figures here, I end up with 1.3. Distribution costs are right here. So here we're doing nothing really. These are free marks. Distribution costs, we feed them into the formula, okay, and we get 2.4. Selling costs, the variable costs, still same thing. Okay, same thing. Variable costs, for instance, here too, I'm multiplying 200,000 by 3.2. In year 2, I'm multiplying 100,000 by 3, and I add them up. I get 9.4. Fixed selling costs have been given the right here, so I'm just picking them and placing them the other side. Then admin costs, I'm also picking them right here and placing them this side. Okay, so at the end of the day, I sum everything. Okay, so at the end of the day, when I sum up all this, okay, you can see I'm getting 24, okay, 0.69. So our total life cycle costs, okay, are 24.69. Hope that's clear. Now the total units, this 300,000 is simply the summation of, okay, the summation of the total units sold. Okay, this is the summation of the total units sold. So it's the summation of all units sold, 100,000 in year 2 and 200,000 in year 3 to give you 300,000. Now the life cycle costs will simply be 24,690 divided by 300, which gives us, as you can clearly see here, it gives us 82.3. So you can pause the video and try and make sure, obviously I'm using a spreadsheet, but in an exam you should have a similar layout. So try and practice and make sure you can get all the figures in this question correctly. So the life cycle cost per unit represents the total cost over the entire life cycle of the product, as we've clearly demonstrated in the note on the right of your screen. Okay, so let's move on to part B of the question. So part B of the question tries to complicate things a little bit. And that's the one thing you'll have to note in this exam. Your examiner is going to keep bringing different parts of the syllabus into the same question. So now she has combined life cycle costing together with a topic called learning curves. Learning curves. Okay, so some basic theory. Okay, if you look at your exam questions, okay, at the end there's something called a formula sheet. I hope you can see it right here. Okay, where y, okay, is equal to ax to the power b. Okay, that's what they call learning curve. So what basically it means that we can represent this equation like this. So if I have output, okay, on one side, and here I have time. Okay, let's say I'm performing a certain activity. As my output keeps increasing, okay, the time per unit keeps decreasing. Okay, so the formula for this curve here, which they call a learning curve, is expressed by y, okay, is equal to ax to the power b. Okay, and we can define the various variables. A is the time taken, okay, for the first unit of output. X is the cumulative number of units produced. B is called the index of learning. It's given by the log of the learning rate out of logarithm, natural logarithm of 2. Then L is what they call the learning rate. So the basic concept here is that as output increases, okay, the time required to produce a unit reduces as well. So that's the basic concept. So you can think of any activity. So even in your studies, the first time you look at a particular question, you will take much more time trying to grasp it. If you look at the same example once again, it becomes much easier. And the third time, it will even take you a much less time. So that's the whole concept of learning curves, that as you keep repeating the same task, okay, the time required to complete that task keeps on reducing, and we can express that relationship in a mathematical formula given by y is equal to ax to the power b, where y is the cumulative average time per unit, a is the time taken for the first unit of output, and x is the cumulative number of units produced. And of course, so you don't need to memorize it, it's given in your exam. You just need to know what the different variables mean. Okay, so back to the question. What do they want us to do? Back to the question. So I'm assuming you've already read through the question, but what they're trying to tell us is the variable manufacturing cost above. Okay, where is the variable manufacturing cost? Is it this figure here? Okay, it includes a labor component. Okay, that labor component is here. Okay, the year 2 cost per hour for labor is 24, and the year 3 cost is 26 per hour. Okay, so that unit cost includes a cost of 0.5 hours of labor. Okay, so the initial cost allocated for labor would be 0.4 by 24 in year 2, and 0.5 by 26 in year 3, of course multiplied by the number of units. So they want us to calculate a revised life cycle cost per unit, taking into account the effect of the learning curve. So they're telling us that a learning rate of 95% is expected to occur until the 100th unit has been completed. Okay, so what does it mean? It means that from 1 to 100, okay, we need to calculate an average time per unit. Okay, then from 101 to, remember the units made in year 2 were 100,000. So from 101 to 100,000, we also need to get an average time per unit. Then from 101,000 to, remember in year 3 we're going up to 200,000, so the total should be 300,000. So we need another time per unit. So that is the basic concept. So let's try and get those individual times. Once we have those, we multiply by the unit costs per hour per unit of time. Okay, so let's see what we do. Okay, so we know that y is equal to ax b. Okay, so let's try and get the average time per unit for first hundred units. Okay, so A is the time spent for the first unit, which is 0.5. Okay, X is the total number of units, is 100. B has been given, it's right here, 0.07400005. Okay, so what this means is that y will equal to 0.5 times 100 raised to the power 0.07400005. Now you need an electronic calculator, a scientific calculator, to do this. Okay, so let's see if we can multiply this. So we have 100 okay, and we're raising it to negative 0.0740005. okay, we get 0.71. then we multiply that figure by 0.5. we end up with 0.3556. okay, so total time will equal to 100 times 0.3556, which will give me 35.56 hours. Okay, so for the first 100 units we have 35.56. okay, now we've been told, okay, that the learning curve occurs until the 100th unit has been completed. So beyond that, okay, we need to assume that the time for the 100th unit will be the time for the remainder of the unit. So we need to find the time for 100th unit. Okay, and the time for 100th unit will be equal to total time for 100 units minus total time so this is the basic formula I'm going to use. Okay, the total time for 100 units minus total time for 90 units. The total time for 100 units is already given here. Okay, but what I don't have is the total time for 99 units. So we have to repeat the same process we used and now find the average time per unit for 99 units. Okay, so y will equal to 0.5. By this time our x is 99, but still raised to negative 0.074005. Okay, you have to use a scientific calculator. If you don't have one, make sure you acquire one before the exam. So we have 99 raised to the power 0.0 okay, then multiply by okay So this is 0.355. Let's round off to 4 decimal places. Okay, that means that total time going to be 0.3559 times 99. Okay, 0.3559 times 99. Okay, $35.23. Please, you can pause the video and try and recompute those figures. Okay, so that means that time is going to be the difference. Remember, we had 35.56 minus 35.23, which gives us 0.33 hours. Okay. Okay, so now we can complete the question and try and find the new labor costs. Okay, so if we begin with year 2, okay, so remember we had 100 units and each was 0.3556, which gives you 35.56 hours. Okay, and remember the total for year 2 is 100,000. Okay, that means there's a balancing figure here of 99,900. Remember, this is a balancing figure. Okay, and now each of these units is at 0.33. Okay, so 99,900 times 0.33. Okay, 32,967. Okay, and then we add 35.56 gives you 33,002.56. Okay, but each hour, okay, each hour in year 2 is 24. Hope you can see that 24. So we're multiplying by 24. So we're multiplying this figure by 24 to give us 792,061.44. So that is the labor cost for year 2. That is labor cost for year 2. Okay, so we're going to do a similar thing for year 3. Now remember, year 3 the units are 200,000, but the time per unit is still going to remain 0.33. So year 3, okay, we're going to have 200,000 units at 0.33. So 200,000 by 0.33 gives you 66,000 times the labor cost in year 2. The labor cost in year 2, rather year 3, is 26. Okay. So if you multiply this by 26, you can see the figure there, 1716. Okay. So that is the total cost. Okay. So the total, we shall need to add on the previous figure of 792,061.44, which gives you 2,508,061. So I've omitted the decimal places, 2,508,61. So this is the total revised labor cost. Okay, but remember, we've been told to calculate the total revised life cycle cost. Okay. We've been told to calculate the revised life cycle cost. Okay. So what was the original cost? The original cost is here, 24,690. 24,690,000. Okay. Then add new labor cost. The new labor cost, which we've just been computing, is 2. You can rewind and see that it is the 1. Okay. Then less original so how do we get the original labor cost? Okay, in year 1 we had 100,000 units. Each unit takes 0.5 hours and each hour is valued at 24. Where am I getting this information from? Includes a cost of 0.5 hours of labor. So 0.5 hours per unit, okay, multiplied by 100,000, okay, in year 2, multiplied by 24. That's what I'm doing. So same thing for year 2, we have 200,000 times 0. Times 26. Okay, so you can use a calculator to do that, but the answer should be okay. So what is the net figure we get? So we have 24,690 add 2508,061 subtract the original labor cost, okay, we end up with 23,398,061. Okay, so the revised life cycle cost will now be this figure here, divided by, remember we were dividing by 300,000 to give you so there you go. That is the new revised life cycle cost. That is the revised life cycle costs. So you can see it's a bit complicated, and that's why you can see it's taken 10 marks. So these are the kind of questions you need to expect at this level. So it's very important to appreciate the theory. It's very important to appreciate how to do the computations, and it's also important to appreciate how to interpret the numbers. Now finally, for 4 marks, discuss the benefits of life cycle costing. Here quickly we shall look at the answer itself, okay, and just quickly state them. 1, it allows visibility of all costs, so from research and development, marketing, distribution, all costs related to the product throughout its life cycle, okay, and this helps to make better decisions, okay. And because of this, individual profitability is more accurate. That means you can decide on which products to make and which products not to make. And then because you're looking at all the costs throughout the life cycle, that means you can easily assess whether a project is likely to fail or be successful, because now you have a projection of all the future costs. So even the R&D, all the costs, of course, included. And then generally the marking guide says that as long as you give a sensible answer at this point, so they usually you state you state the benefit, and then you make an additional statement. So for instance, here they say the visibility of all costs is increased. And why is this good? It is good because it facilitates, okay, better decision making. So each comment you make is the statement itself and then a justification of that statement. So whatever other sensible reason you have here, you'll be able to get a valid mark. Okay, thanks once again. for watching this. Remember, you can give me feedback on john.ntende@gmail.com. Okay, wish you the best in the rest of your studies. We meet next time. Thank you.